DD3 going into battle. So the grid is as follows. On pole position will be Sander Schriblak with David Remy alongside Sebastian de Grand, and Lasse Andreasen will start on row number 2. Wout Antonissen and DJ Liveris round out the top 3 rows ahead of Jordi Kleibort and Tamsin Germain from the United Kingdom. Christoph Adams and Frits Vanssen round out the top 10 ahead of Karl Kleibort, who starts from 11th ahead of Konrad Bayer, Jan Gussens, Wout Colson. Then we've also got Roland Kinch, Michael Becker from Germany, Jamie Billings, Ronald Billings, Silvio Peperato, Christoph Leinen and Andres Schindler. That is the so on this one again, it will be 13 minutes plus 1 additional lap of racing action to conclude the DD2 and DD2 Masters running. And I've just been handed a bit of paper that has really changed the dynamic for the top 36, because there's been a few drivers that have been penalised post-race with 2 wheels out of track limits, front fairing penalties affecting 3 drivers, and also 1 being affected with a 5-second penalty for pushing post-race. But Schriblak and Remy, that is your front row of the grid here. So we get ready to gear up for DD2 and DD2 Masters action. Red lights ignited on the starting gantry, and also 13 minutes set on the timer, plus 1 additional lap. So let's see what happens here in DD2 and DD2 Masters this time around. So they slow and go into the tram lines. The Rotax engines roar into life. Do we go lights out? Yes, we do. And already, Sander Schriblak has got the whole shot, David Remy, and now that looks to be the 447 of Sebastian de Grand. That has gone into make that second place. Dionysius Liveris towards the back part of the top 10, as everyone squabbling behind, trying to keep themselves on the black stuff here at Karting Genk. It's not easy on the very first lap, especially through the first 3 corners, when it's the run down to turns 1 and 2, and then the very tight turn 3. Left-hander, which goes into a triple left, very much like turn 7 at Istanbul Park when the Turkish Grand Prix used to take place there. But Schriblak has got a considerable lead at the moment thus far, ahead of Sebastian de Grand, who's now ahead of David Remy. Lasse Andreasen rounds out the that's a brazen move from DJ Liveris, who looks to have got past the 555 of Christoph Adams, and is also in front of Tamsin Germain, who is at the moment leading the DD2 Masters classification. So Tamsin now with a win under the belt in 2019 will fill the 525 from the United Kingdom with a boot full of confidence, as David Remy goes up the inside to retake second position back off Sebastian de Grand, with Lasse Andreasen in close proximity. And this is allowing Sander Schriblak to just build out an initial lead of around 7/10 of a second, as Dionysius Liveris looks to have gone past Wout Antonissen for 5th place, and now will start charging towards the trio in front. Liveris knew that he could have had a 4th win this season, but it fell out of his grasp at the last dash, as Karl Kleibort is closing on Frits Vanssen, it looks like. So Schriblak has a 1.1 second lead over David Remy. Sebastian de Grand now gets overtaken by Lasse Andreasen quite neatly into turn number 2, as Dionysius Liveris is just powering through the corners, doing a bit of a Tokyo drift coming through the left-hander at turn 3, but still keeps it very much full throttle planted, coming out of the corner to give himself as much momentum as possible. So Schriblak starting to lead again and just pulling away 1.1 seconds this time around when they completed lap number 2. We're on lap number 3 here 10 minutes and 36 seconds, plus 1 additional lap. So Remy now starting to build a lead over Lasse Andreasen in third place, who's just ahead of Sebastian de Grand, and Dionysius Livris is closing. He did a 54.632, over 2 tenths quicker than Andreasen, and over 4 tenths quicker than Lasse Andreasen. And in the meantime, he's just set the fastest lap. That's a brilliant bit of work right there from the Greek driver from Dames Racing, as there's more battles to and fro. And looks to be the 5.27 of Fritz Wernsen battling away with Jordi Klebold in the 4.10. And Jordi trying to get past, not having any luck at the minute, but still has plenty of this race left to go. So at the moment, Sander Triblak is leading DD2. DD2 Masters still being led by about half a second from Tamsin Germain. We've got yellow flags heading out of turn number 5, and one driver now getting out of the kart. Can't really see who that is from my commentary position. As Sander Triblak starts to try and extend that lead even further. Was what, 1.2 seconds? It is now 1.36. And he's just put in a 54.289, but Dionysius Livris is absolutely flying and is catching Sebastian de Grand, his Dames Racing teammate. And that is the battle for 4th position. And last time around, Sebastian de Grand, 54.655, his best effort of the race so far. But Dionysius Livris was nearly half a second quicker, and he's absolutely banzaied up the inside of the Belgian, going through into turn 7. That was a great move. Just absolutely timed it, decided to send it, and gave it a shot, and it worked. So Dionysius Livris now ahead of Sebastian de Grand. Now we'll close on Lasse Andreasen. And that's a pretty amount of impressive pace from the Greek driver. He's really deciding, now I want to win back. I want to get my 4th win of the year. He's still got time. He's got 8 minutes and 27 seconds plus an additional lap. And the gap between Tamsin Germain and Christophe Adams in the DD2 Masters side of things are running 7th and 8th respectively. And so Tamsin has got around about half a second, maybe make that 6 tenths, 0.62 to be pedantic, ahead of Christophe Adams at the moment. As there's some great battles all the way down up and down the order. Running order at the minute, it is Triblak, Remy, Andreasen, then it is Dionysius Livris, then Sebastian de Grand, Wout Antonissen in 6th place, Tamsin Germain, Christophe Adams, Carl Klebold, Jordi Klebold. That rounds out the top 10. Michael Becker up into 11th, having got past Fritz Wernsen for position. Jan Gussens in 13. That's Wout Coulson, unfortunately, that has retired from the race. The 4.34 brings us down to 20 drivers now, unfortunately. Jan Gussens in 13th. Andreas Schindler, 14th. We've got the 4.42 of Jamie Billings in 15th. Christoph Leinen in 16th. Roland Kinch in 17th position. Silvio Piperato from Germany in 18th, ahead of Konrad Bayer and Ronald Billings. So 20 still circulating. We're fast approaching the half-time on the clock, counting down. 7 minutes exactly, plus an additional lap. The gap between Sander Triblak and David Remy is now 1.4 seconds. But Dionysius Livris has got up into 3rd place and put in last time around a 54.098. No one has been able to counter-attack the sheer race pace that Dionysius Livris has under that kart. And he's just done a 54.3. His best lap of the race so far, 54.098. As there's a great little battle there. That is between Carl Klebold and it looks like Christophe Adams. So Adams coming under threat now for the driver who is still the championship leader in the DD2 Masters classification coming into this round. And just up ahead is Tamsin Germain. So Tamsin is going to now have to keep an eye on what happens between Carl Klebold and Christophe Adams just behind. There's Klebold trying to get past the number 555. And with them is coming Jordi Klebold as well. So father and son, line astern. Lead now between Triblak and Remy, now 1.649 seconds. Just keeping an eye on the lap times. Germain did a 54.893. Adams a 54.921. Klebold, that's Carl Klebold, was the fastest out of the trio, 54.843, but just by half a tenth. And then Geordie goes nearly a tenth and a half quicker than his dad. So the two Klebolds definitely working together, it seems, to try and move up the order. And yep, Christoph Adams now is a little bit further back. It looks to have dropped down at least maybe one, or looks to be one at least position. Well, I'm just keeping an eye out. So we're now on to lap number 9 with 4 minutes and 52 plus an additional lap left to go. All some definite side-by-side contretemps going through into turn number 10. Looks to be one of them was Andreas Schindler, I believe, having to try to go. He's had to, in avoidance, tried to go a little bit wide coming out of turn number 10. As the 5.57, that is Roland Kinch from the United Kingdom, unfortunately has just pulled into the pits off of the final corner. It's a real shame for the Brit. And now the battle is quite clearly on for the DD2 Masters lead in this race, as Carl Klebold now closing on Tamsin Germain for the DD2 Masters lead, and that is 7th overall on the road. So Germain now has to go into defensive tactics. And just keeping an eye a little bit further up the order. Schiblak is actually the quickest out of the top 3, or was, until Dionysius Livris puts in a 54.274. As Germain has got Klebold right on the back bumper over the start-finish line, and Klebold sends it up the inside of the 5.25. And then through goes son Geordie as well. So now Carl Klebold takes the lead of the DD2 Masters classification. That puts him into 7th position. Tamsin Germain is a result of that, with both Carl and Geordie Klebold going past the Brits. Puts her down into 9th, but second in DD2 Masters. As Geordie Klebold goes a bit of opposite lock there, coming through the exit of turn 7. Had to really fight to keep that under control. But Germain not giving up without a fight. Lead at the moment for Zander Schiblak was just over 1.9 seconds. And it's now 2.1 between Schiblak and David Remy. Dionysius Livris still sitting in 3rd place. And then we have the battle at the front of the DD2 Masters field. Carl Klebold crosses the line, followed by son Geordie in the 4.10. Then Tamsin Germain. Christoph Adams not that far adrift, probably by about 0.4 of a second. And in terms of the lap times that they're running, Carl Klebold did a 54.990, Tamsin Germain a 55.598, and Christoph Adams was about half a second quicker on that last tour. But then Tamsin Germain is trying to keep pace with the two Klebolds, father and son, who are running line astern. But Geordie's got to run his own race. Tamsin wants to try and get past and see if she can put an offensive onto Carl Klebold in the dying stages. 2 minutes 8 seconds plus an additional lap, as the gap now between first and second now increases to 2.435 seconds. Dionysius Livris in the meantime is trying to chase down David Remy, and takes over a tenth and a half out of the Swede to bring the gap down to just over 5.5 tenths of a second. So we're coming into the last 90 seconds plus an additional lap. Schiblak has it comfortably in the pocket, but David Remy better watch out behind, because Dionysius Livris is still trying to close the gap on the driver from Dan Holland Racing in the 455. And there's some great battling up and down the field. We've had 2 confirmed retirements. Roland Kinch parked it on lap number 9. Wood Coulson was out off of turn 6 on lap number 4. I'm just keeping an eye what is now. I've just noticed a little bit of a drama there, that Geordie Klebold and Tamsin Germain have dropped way down the order, which means that Christoph Adams and Michael Becker now round out the top 3 in DD2 Masters. Didn't really catch it out of my, it might have been out of my line of sight. So Tamsin Germain 16th at the minute, and that puts the Brit 7th in class, down in 16th position. So whether there's been a little bit of a coming together, I'm not too sure. Really couldn't make any judgment call on that, as we got 15 seconds on the clock remaining. This now puts Zander Triblak on the penultimate lap, as Dionysius Livris is going to try and muscle his way past David Remy in the inside of turn 3 and makes the move stick and makes it happen by turn 4. Great work from the Greek driver. Really was kicking himself when I spoke to him briefly during the lunch break, when you could just see the despondency from the Greek driver. He just thought, I knew I could have had that. But now he's really come firing back with both barrels, and he's overtaken David Remy as Zander Triblak comes down into turn number 10 for the penultimate time of asking. Through the left-hander at turn 11, and he's just powering all the way through down to the final corner. This time Zander Triblak will get the final lap board there. It's a great battle between Sebastian de Grand and Wout Antonissen for 5th place, as the top 4 now on the final lap, as are the rest of the top 6. With Carl Klibort now leading the DD2 Masters classification. And Wout Antonissen is right on the back bar from Sebastian de Grand, going through turns 3, 4 and 5. And then they head into 6. But what is going to be the final time as Zander Triblak comes through turn 8 for the final time. Dionysius Livris has got some daylight between himself and David Remy for 2nd position. So we're going to wait for the checkered flag to be brandished, and it will be brandished this time around after 16 laps of racing. Belgium's Zander Triblak takes a win here again at Genk to solidify his championship aspirations. But I must be completely honest, I think the gap is less than 10 points between him and Dionysius Livris, as Livris takes 2nd. David Remy held off as best he could, but ended up 3rd in the end. Lasse Andreasen finished ahead of Sebastian de Grand, who was just a 10th and a half quicker, 10th and a half ahead of Wout Antonissen. Carl Klibort takes the DD2 Masters classification following a possible incident. I'm not going to make any judgment call on that because I didn't see what happened. Carl Klibort, Michael Becker and Christoph Adams round out the top 3 in DD2 Masters classification, finishing 7th, 8th and 9th respectively. The number 442 of Jamie Billings rounds out the top 10 ahead of Andreas Schindler. Jan Negussens in 12th, Fritz Wernsen in 13th, Christoph Leinen in 14th. Jordi Klibort and Tamsin Germain round out the top 16 ahead of Konrad Bayer, Ronald Billings and Silvio Pippahato from Germany rounding out the 19 strong, with both Roland Kinch and Wout Colson not finishing the race.